This is a tradesight trade recap. I wanted to talk today about a Google setup with our Comber tool from Wednesday, November 7th, 2012. And really the story of this trade begins the prior day on Tuesday the 6th. I'm going to show you this is the Google 5-minute chart midday on the 6th. And what we're looking for here is a 9-bar setup to the downside. That's the green numeric count. You can see 1 and 2 here so far. We're going to watch for this setup here early in the middle of the session. This is what's interesting about this. Right over lunch, there's not a lot of activity. You can see that Google starts to head down here a little bit. And we're looking for 9 bars to give us the setup that meet our look-back criteria. You can see we get it right on this next bar. Right, so we've got 9 bars. This is our setup phase right over lunch. Now what happens from this? Well, a couple of things. First of all, we're now going to start our Comber count. That's the pink numbers that have now been added to the chart looking backwards. And you can see the 1 and the 2. If we can get to a 13 on that count, we're going to be looking for a reversal. Now, in a general sense, I don't like to see these signals appear when there's very little movement. I'd like to see some acceleration to the downside to give us that reversal signal. So let's watch how the rest of the day plays out in Google. Remember, this is Pacific time zone on this chart, or actually Mountain time right now. So we're not going to get, we only go till 2 o'clock on this chart, not 4 o'clock. We're not on Eastern time. There's 4. There's the 5th bar towards the Comber count. Remember, a 13 will give us the buy signal. And you drift back up a little bit here, and still can't really make a new low. Finally get a new low for the day, so we get a 6. And right as the market closes, a 7. And this is basically the end of the day on the 6th. Now, we go into the next day, we get a gap down in Google. So by definition, obviously that's going to be a little bit lower. And because of that, we're going to get bar 8 towards the count. The next bar goes lower. And I'm going to spread this chart just a little bit so we can see this better. Okay, so get a little retracement. We come back up here. At this point, what you're thinking is market's gap down. Google's going to head back up. It's trying to fill the gap. And at this point in time, it would seem to anybody who doesn't have the Comber tool that there's no real pattern or methodology to the market here. But meanwhile, what we know is that we not only have a setup phase that completed inside of 1 day, it wasn't split over 2 days, and I don't take them as valid when the 9-bar setup splits over 2 days. But when it completes inside of 1 day, we've got some energy that we're counting here in the market. And what's interesting is, as Google makes new lows a little bit later on in the session here, there's your 10, there's your 11, there's your 12, because you had a lower bar right here. Okay, let's scoot this up a bit. So we're waiting for the 13. We need one more close that's lower than a close that we've seen. There it is, right? That's going to be your 13. So the next bar, boom, there's our 13 signal. You can also see the line that starts to form underneath here. This is the risk line. This is basically saying, okay, if you're going to buy somewhere down in here because of this 13 buy signal that we just got, your stop loss is going to be under this line that's going to start to form sideways right over here. Okay, so again, comparing the fact that we started this out the prior day over here with a 9-bar setup, we were only 7 bars into the Comber count. We got a gap down. We did not fill the gap. A lot of people would look at this as not really being any sort of technical formation at all in the market, but yet our Comber is giving us a buy signal right here. What does that turn into? Let's take a look. Look at this. Not only do we get a bounce, and a decent one at that, about 7 points on Google, but when right after the 13, notice that there's a green 1 through 9 setup, a new setup phase formed right here on the chart. And when that new setup phase forms, the high of that range, which was the first bar, the high of the first bar, we start to get a green line that draws across. That's our static trend line of that new 9-bar setup phase. And look at how we get the 13 and the buy signal, and this carries us back to the penny on a $600 stock to the static trend line of that last move up. So there's your big move in Google. After that, at this point, I would say we've already gotten the move that we needed. Okay, but again, look how precise that ends up being, right back to that static trend line. So not only do you get the buy signal, it's a very strong buy signal, you've got the risk line, which never comes into play, and then you even get a target to look at on the way back up. I think that's phenomenal. It's a great play in Google.